What I'd like to do this morning is introduce you to a part of our story as a church. And as a church that's over 175 years old, think about that. There's quite a few chapters to the storybook of Davisville Church. But if you were to open up the book, so to speak, I believe one of those chapters would read something like this: Cambodia, for God so loved the world. And I want to just open that chapter up for just a moment today and kind of give you a little bit of a history of that and kind of share some exciting things about what's coming up. And so about 25 years ago, the church leadership, probably a little more than 25 years ago, the church leadership identified the nation of Cambodia. Why? Because of this, because they had little to no access to the gospel. And so we began praying for that country, and the elders identified a number of people in our church to prayerfully consider being a part of what God's doing in Cambodia. And what happened through that as a process, 4 families from Davisville sold their homes, left their jobs, and moved to Cambodia to be a part of what God is doing. And as you can imagine, 25 years is a good run. And so many of those missionaries are now in some transition phases. They're looking at the next few years of their life saying, what does it look like for us to pass the baton of ministry? And so Jim and Carolyn Gabriels, who were part of that original team that went 25 years ago, have approached us and said, hey, we would love to be intentional about passing the baton of ministry in Cambodia. We believe there is still work to be done here and would love to see what that looks like. And so we've repeated that process as a church, where we began to pray and began to identify people in our church body to say, hey, would you consider what it looks like to serve longer term in Cambodia? And so unbeknownst to probably many of you, there's been a small team now that's been meeting for the past 8 months. We've identified 15 people, and they've been meeting just about every other week for the past 8 months. And we're at a place now where we're looking to do a discovery trip or a vision trip to Cambodia. And the majority of those 15 are very interested in saying, what's next, Lord? What is my role in Cambodia? We don't know. But there's a team of 8 of those 15 right now who are ready to take that step of discovering Cambodia. And perhaps with the idea of what does it look like to serve here longer term. And keep that in mind, longer term doesn't mean exactly the way it was done before. It can be very different, but what does it look like to be invested long term in Cambodia? And so over the course of the next few weeks, we want to introduce you to two of these teammates of these 8. Over the next 4 weeks, we're going to introduce them to you as a church family. And so we have 2 of our team members here. And what I love about being involved with this team has been just their simple commitment to obedience to Jesus. And what you're going to see is these individuals and the rest of you are going to meet throughout the next couple weeks. They don't have a 5-year plan in place. You know, most of us don't even have a 6-month plan in place. So what's next, Lord? But they're saying, Lord, we hear you. We hear what you're saying about making disciples of all nations, and we're willing to be obedient, and we're listening, and we're taking the next step that's in front of us. And so with that said, I'd like to just introduce 2 of our team members here this morning. First of all, we have Linda Cranmer over here to my right. And Linda grew up in Georgia, moved here to the Pennsylvania area to pursue a massage school, getting her degree in certification in massage therapy. And that's what she's doing nowadays. And she's loving life doing those kind of things and has been on many different trips throughout the history of her pursuit of following Jesus. And so Linda, in particular, can you tell us, with this trip in mind, in just about a month from now, you'll be heading over to Cambodia on a vision trip. What do you hope to learn from this trip?
I think my biggest prayer for this trip is that God would give me very clear direction. I've been asking him for quite a few years, where is it that you want me to serve? Is it local? Is it overseas? I spent some time in Africa. I went to Holland last year, and so I'm just asking for more clarity on long-term service, if that is to be overseas, and maybe Cambodia, maybe somewhere else, but just approaching it with open hands and a heart of obedience to say, God, if this is what you want for me, then I want to move forward in that.
Yeah, I love that. Just an open hand and obedience, and I'm willing to go. I have Jennifer Berglund over here to my left here, and Jennifer's a mom of 3 boys, and she says she can handle just about anything in life because of that. So, but she loves the outdoors, drives a van for Upper Moreland School District, and is a personal trainer as well. And so Talking with you, Jennifer, God has been doing some unique things in your life over the past few years just to kind of prepare you for this. But can you give us a little insight of what God has been doing in your life over the past few years for you to be on the kind of the cusp of a vision trip to Cambodia at this time in your life?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago or so, I rededicated my life and was dedicated to say yes to God, no matter what he put in front of me, which can sometimes be a little scary. And he has definitely been pushing me out of my comfort zone. But just the point of saying yes and let go of what I thought was the plans for my life and saying yes to what he has for me. Because what he has for me is going to be so much better than what I can even think of. So I just started saying yes, and I felt God impressing on me like, hey, you need to get more involved in the church. So I started with the different ministries here with Worth It and Kensington, joining the women's group, which every step prepared me a little bit closer to go to Cambodia, I feel. Like everything that I did, I learned a little bit more, and he pushed me a little bit more to get me to this point here.
Yeah, I love that. Just little steps of obedience along the way, and God continues to.
And then your sermon too, that, what's the next step? What was the next, where do you go from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4? That sort of like was a little push as well.
Okay,
so that was good.
I'll pay you later for that little note. So, but I love it. Just again, simple steps of obedience, and you're going to hear this over the next few weeks as we introduce a few of the different teammates and team members that are heading over to Cambodia. But thanks for being with us this morning and just sharing a little bit about that and your journey and inviting us into that.